For decades, Alan Jackson stood on stage and made America sing along to songs that felt like memories, even the first time they were heard. His voice carried the rhythm of small towns, back roads, and ordinary lives lived with quiet dignity. To millions, he was the sound of summer radios, long drives, and family gatherings. Yet behind the calm baritone and steady presence was a life shaped by sacrifice, heartbreak, faith, and resilience. His story is not just one of fame, but of endurance, through love tested, health challenged, and a devotion to music that never wavered. Roots in a modest beginning, Alan Eugene Jackson was born on October 17, 1958, in the small town of Newnan, Georgia, the youngest of 5 children. His parents, Ruth and Eugene Jackson, raised their family in a modest home that had once been his grandfather's tool shed. It was a simple place filled with the sounds of hard work, metal tools, engine parts, and the steady routine of working-class life. His father worked as a mechanic at a Ford assembly plant, while his mother managed the school cafeteria and emphasized discipline, faith, and humility. Those early years shaped Alan's worldview, grounding him in values that would later echo throughout his music. Discovering the power of song. Music entered Alan's life first through gospel hymns sung at church every weekend. Those harmonies carried emotion and storytelling long before he understood songwriting. As a teenager, he discovered country artists like Hank Williams Jr. and John Anderson, and for the first time realized that music could tell stories about ordinary people, stories that sounded like his own life. When his parents bought him a $50 guitar at age 16, it was a modest gift, but one that changed everything. Only a year later, he stepped onto a stage for the first time in a high school production, unknowingly taking his first step toward a lifelong calling. Chasing a dream the hard way. After high school, Alan worked a series of manual jobs to support himself, but music never left his side. He formed a band called Dixie Steel and played local clubs across Georgia, hauling equipment, setting up stages, and often earning little or nothing. Those nights were long and exhausting, but they strengthened his resolve. He wasn't chasing glamour, he was chasing purpose. Even then, Alan believed music was his way out of a life that felt predetermined, and he was willing to endure years of uncertainty to prove it. Love before fame. Long before awards and sold-out arenas, Alan met Denise, the woman who would become his wife and lifelong partner. Their first encounter was awkward and unforgettable, marked by youthful boldness and humor. Over time, their connection deepened through simple dates, shared dreams, and genuine affection. Alan proposed on Christmas Eve, and they married in 1979, choosing a quiet, intimate ceremony over anything extravagant. Their early marriage was built on trust and shared sacrifice, long before success entered the picture. Nashville and the leap of faith. In 1985, Alan and Denise made the brave decision to move to Nashville. The city represented possibility, but reality was far from glamorous. They lived in a small apartment, counting every dollar. Alan worked in the mailroom at a television network while playing music at night. Denise continued working as a flight attendant to help support them. Those years tested their patience and belief in the dream, but neither gave up. They held on to hope, even when the path forward seemed unclear. A chance encounter that changed everything. Fate intervened unexpectedly when Denise met country legend Glenn Campbell during a flight. She spoke about her husband's music, and Campbell listened. He handed her a business card and suggested Alan make a call. That small gesture opened a door that had seemed permanently closed. Alan later reflected that this single moment changed his life, setting him on the path that would eventually lead to a recording contract and national recognition. Breaking through in country music. In 1989, Alan became the first artist signed to Arista Nashville. His debut album, Here in the Real World, released in 1990, resonated immediately with listeners. The songs felt honest and grounded, reflecting real life rather than trends. When he received his first gold record, Glenn Campbell was there to witness it. A full-circle moment that symbolized gratitude and destiny. Alan had arrived, but he remained deeply aware of where he came from, defending the soul of country music. As the 1990s unfolded, Alan's career soared. Songs like Chattahoochee, Don't Rock the Jukebox, and Gone Country became cultural staples. Yet success brought pressure to conform to changing industry trends. While others embraced pop influences, Alan stayed rooted in traditional country. Some critics labeled him resistant to change, but for Alan, preserving the genre's soul was non-negotiable. This conviction culminated in Murder on Music Row, a bold statement about protecting country music's identity, recorded with George Strait, a song that spoke for a nation. In the wake of September 11, 2001, Alan woke early one morning with words already forming in his mind. By the end of the day, he had written, "Where were you when the world stopped turning?" The song was simple, unadorned, and deeply human. When he performed it live, the room fell silent. It resonated across the country, earning awards and touching millions because it spoke without spectacle, just shared grief and reflection. Family as the center of everything. Despite professional success, Alan's deepest inspiration always came from home. He and Denise raised their 3 daughters away from excess, focusing on family traditions, outdoor life, and simple joys. Many of his most beloved songs, including Drive for Daddy Jean and Remember When, were rooted in personal memories, lessons passed down, childhood moments, and enduring love. For Alan, music was never separate from family. It was an extension of it. When fame tested love, as Alan's career intensified, constant touring created distance at home. Fame brought temptations, and in the late 1990s, the strain on his marriage became undeniable. Alan admitted to mistakes that deeply hurt Denise. The betrayal shook their foundation, leading to separation and profound emotional pain. Denise later spoke openly about losing her sense of self during that period, feeling consumed by a life that no longer felt like her own. Choosing forgiveness over finality. Rather than walking away, Denise turned inward, finding strength through faith and reflection. She chose forgiveness, not as weakness, but as an act of courage. Alan, burdened by regret, confronted the emptiness his choices had created. Slowly, through honesty and effort, they rebuilt what had been broken. Their reconciliation wasn't immediate or easy, but it was real. They emerged with a deeper understanding of love, one built on accountability and grace rather than illusion. Facing his own health battle. In 2021, Alan revealed he had been living with a hereditary neurological condition that affects balance and mobility. The diagnosis explained physical struggles that fans had quietly noticed. Speaking openly, Alan clarified misunderstandings and shared his reality with honesty. Though the condition has no cure, he refused to let it define him entirely. Music, once again, became both refuge and purpose. Singing through limitations. Despite physical challenges, Alan continued performing, adapting when necessary, but never losing the emotional connection with his audience. His voice remained steady even when his body faltered. Standing on stage became an act of determination rather than ease, but he embraced it fully. To him, singing was not about perfection. It was about truth. A farewell, not an ending. When Alan announced a farewell tour, he made it clear it was not meant to be sorrowful. It was a celebration of music, memories, and gratitude. Each performance became a shared moment between artist and audience, a reminder of decades spent together through sound and story. He used the tour to give back, supporting research and offering hope to others facing similar challenges. Life beyond the spotlight. Away from the stage, Alan lives quietly on his farm, restoring old cars, fishing, and spending time with his family. Becoming a grandfather brought him unexpected joy and a renewed sense of peace. Though he no longer releases music frequently, he continues to write, reflect, and remain connected to the people who have supported him for decades. A legacy rooted in honesty. Alan Jackson's legacy isn't measured solely in records sold or awards won. It lives in the way his songs captured everyday life with sincerity and respect. He stood firm when trends shifted, stayed vulnerable when life hurt, and chose humility over spectacle. His music became a mirror for generations, reflecting love, loss, faith, and perseverance. The man behind the music. Alan has never claimed perfection. He has spoken openly about mistakes, growth, and forgiveness. That honesty is what makes his story resonate so deeply. His journey reminds us that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the willingness to face it with integrity. When the music finally fades, one day the stage lights will dim for the last time, but Alan Jackson's songs will continue to play in kitchens, cars, and quiet moments across the country. His voice will remain woven into the fabric of American life, not because it was loud, but because it was real. An enduring song. Alan Jackson doesn't just sing country music, he embodies it. Through decades of change, personal trials, and unwavering devotion to authenticity, he proved that music rooted in truth never ages. And when the final note fades, what remains is not just a career, but a life lived with honesty, resilience, and love that refused to give up.